There's a lot of policy blunders over the years, on the energy side, especially. But I wanted to sort of switch gears just on on all the moving pieces. We look at, so we had some big announcements from Trudeau, obviously revoking the emergency power use here in Canada after he basically was a hard pivot. So, we were kind of discussing off air, but I think a lot of this is coming down to, potentially Trudeau having a tap on the shoulders from the big banks, who I would say really realistically, I think the big five banks essentially run the country. Let's call it what it is. And this is the problem, is like, you have to kind of like look past like the CBC News headlines and say, okay, like what are the larger ramifications? What are the things that I'm not being told that might impact society or my day-to-day life? Which is that you can't just, in a free and democratic country like Canada, you can't just start freezing bank accounts and think that there's zero impact ramifications on a larger level. And so what we were talking about earlier was basically that, if you're a foreign investor looking to place capital, we talked about it in last week's show, you're starting to say, oh, hold on a minute, maybe this isn't the safest place to park capital. Maybe this is going down the wrong path. Go ahead.
Just a quick detail. It's not just freezing bank accounts. Sorry, really quick detail. It's doing so with no probable cause and just on the basis of suspicion. Loads of people deserve to have their bank accounts frozen. But anyway, sorry, please. It's about having no probable cause, like no judge oversight, etc.
And again, I want to preface this because I know there's going to be people instantly commenting and sending me emails. I don't care about your politics. I don't care if you're left wing, right wing, orange, red, blue. It doesn't matter. What matters here is really the larger macro ramifications, which is financial markets are going to perceive this and say, okay, I have options. You can place your money anywhere in the world if you're these large institutions. And it's like, if you're looking at Canada and going, that's just how it's perceived. And so, Keith, I'd love for you to sort of touch on that, because I think you brought up some good points in the last week's episode, because I think this was a very hard pivot. Again, right or wrong, whatever your politics are, this was a hard pivot. And I think that there was more meaning behind it than what you're probably being told from the mainstream.
Yeah, sure thing. First of all, I just want to one quick comment on the global energy structure. So and again, just get people to think differently about things. So what's the young lady from Sweden? What's her name? That was
Greta Thunberg.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's her name.
She like a Schwab World Economic shill there, or what?
I think she might be a consultant of some kind. However, back to the points that the Rich was making, about Germany, what they have and they don't have, and so that young lady, she was very good at touring the Western world about, suggesting what should be done and shouldn't be done. She couldn't go to Russia, right? Who's pumping all this oil into Europe and coal, of course. She couldn't go to the Middle East. Same thing. Nor did she go to China. Nor did she go to China. And you come up, very reasons why or why not. But again, like Steve, the comment you make, the geopolitical world, for people that are interested in it, it's incredibly fascinating. And there's never a winner. Like there's never a loser. Everybody will win a little bit. And that's what's happening with Ukraine right now. You may not be able to see it yet, but in the end, everyone involved would be a little bit of a winner, except for maybe Ukraine, unfortunately. And again, that doesn't sound nice, but that's the way it will likely happen. But again, the whole energy thing, again, it's the West are going down this one road of ideology. Someone mentioned Obama about helping Americans become energy independent. But that's with fracking.
It was fracking. Fracking is what killed coal.
Fracking is now bad, of course. So now it's because it destabilizes the ground now, right? But my point is, politics, it does have a big influence on economics as it's going, which brings us to, you know, Canada. What happened here? So one thing I do love about the Prime Minister here in Canada, he's been very consistent on everything he's been doing, and it's irrelevant whether you like what he's been doing or you dislike what he's been doing. Again, I always look for consistencies, and they just did a 180 on the Emergency Measures Act. Out of the blue, like overnight, they said, okay, we're now going to shut it down, because they were taking crap for 48 hours. Even though, like, even when they did the vote in Parliament, and what really drives me nuts, all you wanted, remember in Tiananmen Square back in the 80s, the one guy stood in front of the tank, very famous scene, of course. And I think
Tank
now generations of Chinese, they don't even think it happened. Like they don't think it happened, but it did. In Parliament a few nights ago, not one MP stood up and went against his party. It doesn't matter if they were conservative or liberal or NDP. No one stood up and said, you know what, I think we got this wrong. You know, it's just on party lines. So again, that just shows you how everything is very clear to see. But then all of a sudden, overnight, the liberals, you know, they changed their mind on this. So someone gave them the nod, whether it was the banks or somebody else, but someone suggested to them, we need to change this. And that's what happened, because otherwise there's no other reason for them to change the policy with it. Because what you do in politics, you always float out a trial balloon. You see what the reaction is to it. And from what I saw, there were no trial balloons that went out, you know, to reverse this overnight. So again, everything comes down to money and power. It did happen, which I think it's a very good decision here in Canada to have that not enacted. But we'll see where we go with it. But now all of a sudden we have a leadership now in Ottawa where, okay, what are they going to do now? So now I don't see them as being consistent. And we'll sort of tie in with the Bank of Canada next week. Because remember at the last meeting that the Canadians had at the central bank, you know, we didn't hike today, but we are going to hike next time. What is seen it's going to be if they don't hike next week? Seriously, like it's going to be a Loonie
I will
Hour.
eat a Twinkie.
Rich will eat a Twinkie.
I will also eat a Twinkie. I think these guys are for sure raising rates. I just think there's way too much political pressure. But yeah, like I said, I think we talked about it earlier on the show here. But you know, I think regardless of whatever the reasoning is, I think we all felt it was inevitable that, you know, this talk of like 7 to 8 rate hikes from the Bank of Canada just at this point in time, anyway, seems extremely far fetched. Because, you know, things happen. It's a very complicated global macro picture.